Hello, I'm Sue with Woman of Noble Character, and I am so excited to have with us here today Rachel Schrey. Rachel is an actress. She will be in the upcoming movie Summer of '67 and a number of other projects, which I'm sure we're going to chat about in our time together. So, welcome, Rachel,
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
and we're thrilled to have you. So,
Thank
why
you.
don't you tell us a little bit about you, your life, your story?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Williamsburg, Virginia. I grew up there, went to college there, and I got into acting after college because I actually, making videos was a hobby for me as a kid. I would write scripts and get my sister and my best friends to be in it and everything. And, but then I thought that's just a childhood hobby. So I went to college thinking I was going to be a vet and loved what I studied. But afterward, it just wasn't what I wanted to do after I graduated. So I went back to school for a year. I went to a college in Australia and I studied TV and media there for a year. I met my husband there. And when we got married and we moved back to the States and then moved to Nashville, and I thought, I want to give acting a try. So I just kind of jumped in and I just haven't looked back. It's really my passion. I feel like it's what I'm made to do. So
That's fabulous. What
yeah.
made you decide to go to a film school in Australia?
Well, yeah. I've always wanted to travel, and up to that point, I had never been out of the country, and Australia was just a place I'd always been really interested in. And so I just thought, I'm done with college. I hadn't gotten married right out of college like I thought for sure was going to happen, and nothing was holding me anywhere. And I thought, now's the time if I want to go on this adventure and do this crazy thing. So my parents were stunned, but they were really supportive. So I was 24 at the time. I just packed up my stuff and took a leap and went and was there for a year. And it was the craziest year. It was really hard and really good, and I learned so much. I'm so glad I went. So yeah, it was just, I don't know, it's just a crazy thing.
What a great experience, and clearly God's providence, because that's where you found your husband.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I felt for sure when I was going and preparing to be there, I felt really sure in my heart. I was like, I just know I'm going to meet my husband there. And I thought he was going to be an Aussie. He's German. So,
So
oh,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Would you tell our audience a little bit about your testimony of faith?
Yes. So, so I grew up in a Christian home. I've always been a Christian. And I, the Lord has just helped me so much in my life. I actually used to struggle with anxiety really badly when I was younger. And just the Lord showed me how to get amazing victory over that. And so I'll never forget that. I'll never forget what he taught me and how to, take authority over your thought life and really just be able to find true freedom from that. And then, as well, just, like we chatted about, I was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. And the Lord just walked me through that so amazingly. I've had so much redemption from that, so much healing and so much freedom after being through such a dark place. And I don't believe that any of that came from him. I don't believe he put that on me. But what was a horrible attack of the enemy, he really turned it around into a victory. And that's the God we serve. I mean, only God can do that. And I feel like I won. I feel like I'm stronger than I was before. I'm cancer free now. Praise God.
Praise God, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's just given me an incredible testimony of restoration through that.
That's awesome.
Mm.
That really is a wonderful thing, and I think it's I'm also a colon cancer survivor, and what you come out with in terms of your faith life after going through something like that, it really is just amazing what he brings us through, what he teaches us, what he reveals to us. And so it really stinks that we have to go through it, but he has a purpose. And sometimes that purpose is simply to grow our faith and learn to find our refuge and strength in him.
Yeah, and I definitely found that on a deeper level. I mean, he's so faithful to just reveal himself in those horrible times, in those attacks, and he's just so close. He's so present. And yeah, if it hadn't been for my knowing him, I don't know what I really would have done, because I absolutely clung to him. Like, he was absolutely my anchor in circumstances I felt like was going to crush me otherwise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you met your husband while in Australia film school. Is he in the industry as well?
So he's not at the moment. He works in a technical field though. And he's very great. He's very smart. I have to brag on him. But eventually he would love to be in the industry as well. He's actually a really good editor. And at the school we were at in Australia, he was on staff as well as a part-time, as well as a student. And so he did a lot of editing there. And so eventually he'd love to be actually a producer. And I like to write and produce my own content. So the dream is down the road to be able to kind of combine forces and, produce some of our own stuff on a bigger scale.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, pardon me, your journey to become an actress. And you talked that wasn't initially the dream, and you took a year, went to film school. How did you get started when you came back to the U.S. after you'd gone to film school? Where did you even know where to turn? What did you do next?
Yeah.
That first part.
Yeah. I really didn't have a clue in the beginning. It felt so out of reach, and it felt like this crazy, almost like a pipe dream. And it was just like, how in the world am I going to do this? But when I got to Nashville, there is just so many creative people here. It's just like a melting pot of creative people. And so I just found, and there's a lot of those kinds of people at the church that we go to. So I just felt like I had a lot of encouragement from those people. But basically what I did was I looked into acting classes, and I just Googled some of the bigger schools here in Nashville and found one that looked good and emailed the teacher and heard back from him. And it was totally the place I'm supposed to be. God just like showed me where to go. I just, was on Google, and it ended up being this amazing community of people, other actors who were like me. Some of them were just getting started, and some of them had been in the industry for a while. So it was really great to get to hear their stories. And then from there, I learned about getting an agent and eventually signed with an agent. And then one of the crazy things about, I don't know if it's like this in other parts of the country, but in Nashville on Facebook, there's a lot of groups for casting calls and things like that. So I joined those groups and ended up finding some roles. That's how I found out about Summer of '67. And so I auditioned through that. I didn't have an agent at that point. I just found it and happened to book it through there. So it was just kind of like these steps, I guess. So it's just kind of been a snowball.
People usually associate Nashville with the music industry, but it's so much more than that. It really is. I think there's representation of nearly every area of the entertainment industry, from art to, of course, music, and even to acting and writing. There are a lot of writing circles down there. So
yeah,
that's a great place to be then.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So let's talk a little bit about Summer of '67. If you could just give our viewers today a quick overview of the movie.
Yeah.
What would you say?
So it's set in against the backdrop of the Vietnam War. And basically it's a war story told from the perspective of the women who were left behind. So it's about three women who are connected by family, and what happens as their men go off to fight.
In the movie, you play the role of Millie, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Millie.
Yeah, so Millie is, she's a wife and a mom, and she's also pregnant for most of the movie. And so, she's got a younger sister named Kate. I actually have a younger sister also named Kate, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically about her, just her journey as these unexpected things happen. I don't think any of the ladies, I think back then they knew the war was happening, obviously, but a lot of women didn't know if their husbands were going to be called upon to fight or not. And then, just those circumstances alone feel very out of control, I think. So it's about her journey figuring out how she's going to respond in the face of these circumstances that are just like her life is going into a whirlwind, like I said, and just about her discovery of what she's gonna lean on, how she's gonna react. And I think she's really a representation, like all three of the ladies, but she's really a representation of a lot of women who really existed, who went through that in the 60s, and even now who are, military wives who go through that. So it was really an honor to play that role, because I really wanted to give honor to our military families in America who went through that and who are going through that and giving so much.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you.
How did you prepare for your role in the film?
So I researched about the war, and it also focuses a lot on the Forrestal Fire, which I did not know very much about. So I researched about that, and I just spent a lot of time, just really studying the script, just really delving into the characters, what they were going through, and the way that Sharon wrote it, she wrote it so beautifully. It was really easy to picture all the characters as real people, and it just kind of leapt off the page to me, and it was easy to feel connected with Millie as I was reading it. So that was my main goal, just to make it just very real, because like I said, it's a reflection of what really happened. So that was my goal. So in my prep, I was very careful to do as much as I could to really bring that depth and realism.
Is there any of you and Millie, or vice versa?
I think there is. We're both wives, we're both sisters. I don't have kids yet, but my husband and I do want to have kids one day. But I think especially, I felt like I had a kind of a unique connection with Millie in a totally different way, but just through my journey with going through breast cancer. That was a circumstance that I totally did not see coming. I'm young, I've been healthy my whole life, so I felt like I got knocked on my back. And for Millie, going through the war and just her life being totally out of her control, I don't think that she thought that was going to happen, when she was younger, when she got married, and just being faced with that decision of like, okay, I'm a person of faith. I think I know how I'm going to react, but now here's this test that I really didn't see coming. What is that going to mean for me now? What am I actually going to do? And so I felt like Millie and I shared that in a way, even though they're two different things. But
is she a woman of faith in the movie?
Yeah, she is.
Awesome. So when you saw the casting call, and then later when you saw the script, what was it about the movie that really made you want to be a part of it?
Yeah. I loved how it was just a story of family and country, and it was just a good story and about an important piece of history. And I felt like that would be a great thing to portray. I also really like period pieces, and so it was fun to do something set in the 60s. And then, when I read the script, at the end of it, I really was just like, that role is for me. Like I'm supposed to play Millie. I really just felt so connected to it. I don't know if it was just like wishful thinking in the moment or something, but I just felt like I knew. And I think it was the way that Sharon wrote it. And so big compliment to her on that. She's an amazing writer, director.
She is incredibly talented.
So talented. So I think that's what it was. It just was so easy to feel connected to it. And I just really knew I was supposed to be a part of it.
Each of the characters are painted so vividly and richly described. So it's not just the surface that you see. You really seem to see their inner struggles. And again, Sharon did an amazing job with painting those characters so vividly.
Yes, she really did. She made my job easy.
So the movie was filmed in Nashville, is that correct?
It was actually filmed mostly in Springfield, which is about 30 minutes north of Nashville.
Okay.
In a few days, we went up to Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is about another hour north. Yeah.
Okay. So what was your favorite part about actually filming the movie?
Oh my goodness. Well, I loved where we mostly filmed was actually at Sharon and Fred's house. They have a beautiful Victorian house in Springfield. And it was just filled with 1960s decor. So it was really cool to be in that house because you just felt like you were there. But probably my favorite day was one of the days we went up to Bowling Green and we filmed at the historic railway park or historic rail park. And there's this vintage train there. And we just filmed this beautiful scene where some of the soldiers are leaving. It was incredibly easy acting wise because again you just felt like you're there. We had steam coming out from underneath the train, the sun was setting, and we got to go inside the train, and we didn't film inside the train, but we got to go in and kind of use different areas as like our dressing spaces and stuff like that, and it was just so much fun. It was just such a unique experience, so I think everybody especially enjoyed that day.
I'm sure. It sounds like the Wilhelms did an amazing job to make it so realistic, and
Yeah.
rather than just building sets that portray that period, they actually brought you into that time period.
Yeah, it was amazing. I don't really know how they did it, but they went all out for all the details.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What life lesson have you learned from acting?
Oh my goodness. So, I have learned a huge amount about vulnerability. And I think I used to be actually pretty shy when I was younger, which is another reason I thought for sure I was never going to be an actor. But, it was in me and I loved it and I wanted to give it a try. So when I started to really study it and train for it for real, of course you have to be vulnerable because, it's about telling stories, it's about being raw. And my coach always talks about, marrying your art with your life and changing your art with your life and your life with your art. And that's been so true for me. And even as I was working through all that stuff with my health, I had to learn how to be vulnerable because I needed help and encouragement. I needed to be able to process and get out what was kind of being bottled up on the inside. So I kind of went through a hard period where it was hard for me to be vulnerable, and I could tell that I was bottling things up because of what I was going through, and it affected my acting. And in class it became very hard to let the walls down enough to be present with my characters. And I talked with my coach about it. I was honest with him, and he just encouraged me to just let it out, even use the scenes in class as a cathartic experience. And I thought that sounded kind of weird at first, but but actually it's been amazing. And I just kind of had this breakthrough that went hand in hand with my acting and with my personal life of being vulnerable doesn't mean that you're being weak. And for some reason I kind of thought that that's what that meant. And but it's the opposite. It's a position of strength when you sometimes show what you're feeling. And so I honestly think that acting classes helped me learn that, helped me walk through that season of life. It's so funny how God used that. I felt like I would go to my acting class and just get ministered to. So I don't know. It's just
Almost
so
like
funny.
therapy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
As women, we're put in a box that we are vulnerable or that we are more emotional.
Mm,
And that's not always the case. But I think that women do have a harder time asking for or accepting help.
mm,
And I know that that was something that I struggled with during my diagnosis and illness because I'm always the one as mom and wife who I run the show, I take care of everything, but now I'm the one who needs someone to do for me. And even
yeah,
accepting meals from our church was a struggle for me.
yeah,
So did you find that that was difficult for you? Um,
yeah.
instead of being the nurturer, being the one who needs the nurturing.
Yeah, that was hard for me because I always liked to identify myself as someone who is, strong and, I'm good. And even if I feel emotions, I'm not going to really show it and everything because to an extent, I just felt like I don't want to be a person who cries a lot or anything. And I just felt like for some reason that it meant I was strong if I didn't really do those things.
Right.
So yeah, and even receiving help and kind of having to ask for it. And to just admit that there were days that I wasn't okay. It was an incredibly hard season, incredibly hard. And so having to be open about that was really difficult as well, because I felt like I was kind of like admitting defeat, or, just that I wasn't strong enough to handle it or something. And that's a lie, because, of course God helped me, and, he helped me be strong enough. And it's not weakness to ask for help, or to say like, hey, I'm not okay today. Like I need to like vent this. And I think you're healthier for it. I become so much more healthy and so much more, like free, just feeling like I don't have to always like keep things bottled in. And I think there's a balance. I wouldn't go around like wearing my heart on my sleeves or crying every 5 seconds, or being led by my emotions or anything like that. But I think there's a real balance that I've learned, and it's made me, like I said, much happier and freer.
That's fabulous. And again, it's God's providence. He brought you to that point for a reason.
Yeah, he redeemed the heck out of it.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
What's one takeaway that you hope people get from this film?
Such a good question. I really love for people to draw their own conclusions about a story. And I think there's several things that people could take away from it. But one thing I really wanted them to take away is just an awareness of what our military families went through and go through. And I just feel like, I've never been in the military. My husband's not in the military, but my great grandfather fought in the Vietnam War. And so I just think that it's important to just go back and remember and just be aware. People give a lot. They really sacrifice a lot. And then I think I hope that it raises the question for people, like, who or what do you lean on when you have something really hard hit you? Like, do you have an anchor? And if so, what is that?
I think that we, pardon me, maybe just more Americans, but maybe society in general, we have short-term memory.
Yeah.
So, we went through 9/11 as a country, and everyone was patriotic and helping out our neighbors. And now our country is in a really rough spot. So I hope that people will take away that, and they will remember and recognize what our military went through and continues to go through, and not just the military, but those they leave at home.
Yes.
For really, trying to live life and maintain everyday schedules and pressures and responsibilities while their heart is overseas. It's an incredible sacrifice.
Yeah.
In your career,
Absolutely.
What would you say is the biggest risk that you've taken that's paid off?
Okay, yeah. So I actually just wrapped a short film that I wrote and co-directed and I acted in as well. I was one of the leads. And so that whole project, nothing about it was easy. And I specifically created it to be a challenge, both for my acting, and just, a lot for my acting, and just in general to try to produce your own content is no easy task. And I had done it before, like I said, as a hobby growing up, but I never had done it on this level. And so it was a risk. It's a hard genre to pull off, especially an independent short film. It was a sci-fi action drama. So everything was heightened. Everything was stylized. We had, very specific costumes and props and makeup. And to try to pull that off without it being cheesy or anything, it's difficult. And everything with the acting is very heightened. And you just really have to commit to your performance. But I love those kinds of stories. And so it was very scary, especially when, I was kind of like the driver of the whole bus, and I got a bunch of my friends to come on board so generously, and they were amazing, and they believed in it, and they, and then we're there to shoot. And then I have to get up in front of the camera and I have to perform, and you get a little nervous and you're like, oh my gosh, I wrote this. What if they think it's bad? Like, I have to be good. So definitely there were a lot of nerves and everything, um, but it was amazing. And it's hard to describe kind of how satisfying it is now that we're done with the shooting because we did it. And I feel like it was well done, and not because of me, but because of our whole team, because of the people
Right.
that came on to help me. They made it a higher caliber than I ever thought it could be. So
Can you
it
tell
was
us
amazing. Yeah,
the
sorry.
name of the film or a little bit about it?
Yeah, sorry. So it's called Kazaya,
Okay.
and it's about a soldier who I play who is trapped on a dangerous foreign planet and what she has to do to get back to her family. It's very
Wow.
intense. It's very emotional. Um, yeah, yeah, it's a very intense story.
And when and where will we be able to find, will we be able to see this?
Yeah, so I'm gonna submit it to some festivals that are in next spring. We didn't complete it in time to get it in for this year, so it'll have to be next year. So I can't release it until after that. But then I'll put it up on like YouTube or Vimeo or something. I'd be happy to send you links to
We'd
it. I'd
love
love
it.
to share it.
Absolutely, we'd love it. And I want to make sure that our audience can find it and check
Yeah,
it out. That's
that'd be great. Thanks.
so what's next for you?
So I'm actually looking to expand my reach out of just Nashville, but out into Atlanta and to the whole Southeast region. And what I'd love to do is continue working on independent films, features and shorts and everything to build my experience. And I really enjoy those kinds of projects. But I'd love to try to start booking roles on network TV and become like, my goal would be able to become like a series, recurring character, a series regular or something like that. So I'm just going to reach out and keep building, just keep going for it, and trust the Lord to open the right doors for me and see what happens.
You will. What do you prefer, television or film?
um, oh, I love them both so much. I don't know.
You don't
I
have to pick
think
one. That's okay. You don't have to pick
both.
one.
Yeah, because I love film because you can pick up a character and then you do it just for a shorter time and then you get to do a different character, and I like the idea of doing lots of different kinds of work. But I also like the idea of developing a character over a long period of time with a web series or a TV show or something. So that's why both of them draw me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up with some fun tidbits.
Okay.
Fast and Furious, the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
We're going to start gentle. Do you have a favorite Bible verse? And if so, what is it?
Yes. So, and I forget the reference. That's kind of embarrassing, but it
That's
is.
okay. We can't remember it all the verses.
Yeah, but it's a psalm, and it says, "The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall, for the Lord holds them by their hand." And that verse has been proven true time and time again for my life.
Amen. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
What's one television show you just can't miss?
Oh my goodness. Um, oh my goodness. There's so many. They're just off the top of my head. Sherlock and Blind Spot and oh my goodness. Yeah. Sherlock and Blind Spot. Can't
Okay.
miss this.
Okay, great. I've had people, including actresses, tell me that they don't watch TV. So that one kind of threw me. I was hoping you'd have an awesome answer, and you did. You came through.
Oh, that's funny.
What was your last Google search?
My last Google search was, oh my goodness. It was, I don't remember. It might have been directions to somewhere, honestly. That's not very interesting at all. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Or it might have been like a Steve Carell interview, because I think he's hilarious. And I'm trying to explore my comedic side, and I was looking for some inspiration. So that is something interesting I remember I Googled recently.
He is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's been in some of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How do you take it?
Either black or with heavy whipping cream.
Okay. I take it black myself.
Yeah.
What are you reading now, or maybe a great book that you've read recently?
Yeah, I just finished reading The Actor's Life by Jenna Fisher. She plays Pam Beasley on The Office. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was a great book. So full of inspiration and advice. So any aspiring actors, I recommend. It's called The Actor's Life.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And your favorite snack food?
Favorite snack food? Peppers and hummus.
Oh, wow, healthy.
Yes, I try.
Oh, that's great. Well, I thank you so much for spending some time with us today. For our audience, we're going to have lots of links and places that you can find Rachel online and some of her upcoming projects. We're thrilled that you spent some time talking with us today about your career, the movie, and your faith. And and again, I just thank you and pray that God goes with you and directs every one of your steps in your life and your career.
Thank you so much, Susan. I really appreciate that. And thank you for having me. I had a great time talking with you.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure.
Yes.